Alright, hacksters, one of the things that defines a hack is something that you might do last minute or sort of kludge together or with whatever you have on hand, and I definitely belong to this school of gifting, much though I work to the contrary. Anyway, so last year I was in a bit of a pickle and I needed to come up with some wrapping paper really fast, and I was like, well, we have access to a laser cutter. Why not just etch our own? And it was simpler than I thought. I basically used this online CAD tool called Onshape to design a sort of simple snowflake pattern. I was able to export to a DXF cutting file, which I then ran on very light power and high speed over some brown paper. And basically this was exported as a single sketch. So I extruded this face so that I could select all of it and export it very easily. But also you can like make little drawings out of it and stuff. Onshape's pretty flexible like this. And the one that I made last year and released looked like this and was a big hit among my relatives, so that's awesome. You know, people who aren't super technical still are plenty appreciative. It's sort of like my style, like, and has the tech edge to it, but at the same time is virtually instant to produce. Okay, it's kind of slow because I was vector cutting and it's a lot of lines in different directions. You might have better luck if you decide to export it and raster it. But I'm not actually honestly sure which one would be faster. So you can download these both from Dropbox as finished DXF files if you want. And this is what it looked like when we were cutting it on the laser in this sort of like super antiquated, super industrial software. But so this year I was looking to make a gift box. Or actually I started out wanting to make a card. And so this is what I came up with. And it's again sort of got this sort of techie maker flair, but again it's also like quite easy to produce, and I made this also in Onshape, only this time it was way simpler. All I did was take my basic plane and create a sketch on it with two pieces of text reading happy and holidays, and normally when you open up the app you will see these planes turned on, so it looks kind of like this, right? And if you want to get a clean PNG, all you gotta do is hide those. And so I just took a screenshot of this and threw it into the Glowforge, and I was easily able to etch this onto cedar veneer, which is basically some stuff that I got. They're called cedar wraps. You're meant to sort of, I think, smoke salmon or something in them. It's a thin layer of cedar that you're supposed to like wrap up your meat in, and you cook it and it tastes and smells like cedar, which is a great idea. I love the smell of cedar, which is probably why it's so great to laser. In this case I was just making a card, so I decided to snap it in half and connect the two halves together again with Kapton tape. Unfortunately the Kapton tape I have is very thin and narrow, so if you had some thicker stuff it would probably look cooler and hold on better, but this is what I had, so last minute whatevers. Etched that on low power. I was able to use the cherry veneer setting, even though this is obviously not cherry, and it worked great. It's beautiful. So that's kind of another maker-themed card that you can do, and I'll release this design. I'm just going to append it onto that same laser wrapping paper article so that you can find it easily, find both of them together, and then you can have cards and gift wrap that are both really simple, that you can make on your laser cutter and use for whatever. If you want to create a box, I also tried doing that, and there's some tools for that. So I also did it on this piece of cardboard using a template that I made in Make-A-Box. So I was trying to make something that was like 180 millimeters by 130 millimeters by, oh wait, no, it was by 60 millimeters tall, by 130 millimeters deep, and then the thickness of the material was I think 4 millimeters, this cardboard, and then the tab width I did not specify, and then you can just download that as a PDF, which the Glowforge also takes. My settings were a little bit off, so it's a very dark etch, and this kind of took forever, to be honest. I rastered it, and I think that's because the settings that I used were at 30% speed, and if I had turned down the power or even turned up the power and turned up the speed, I would have gotten a similar effect, but with much faster results, because this took about an hour to do the whole thing though. And so I had created this box using Make-A-Box, And it's great. It just gives you these things that just like slot together really easily. And you don't even have to pay too much attention about where each one goes, because they're sort of like all the corners on this are outies and all the corners on this, well, you know, it's consistent, you know, so it doesn't matter that much which of these sides of the box you use and which way up you put them. It's really great and flexible that way. And I tried adhering these together with little sticky dots. That did not work. The other thing is that the way that I made this, they slot together really well. They really fit together well. However, they do not stay very well. And so I need some extra adhesive. And I think what I could do for that is just make the kerf setting bigger. Because I think that what happens is that the laser kerf, the amount of material that the laser removes, the width of that little slot that it cuts is big enough that these slot together, but there's no real grip for them. So if I made that kerf setting larger, it would know that the laser takes out more material, and then maybe it would provide a tighter fit for those, and maybe that would help. So just while we're looking at these templates, there's another one called Maker Case that you can choose what kind of joints you want. Finger joints are what MakerBox uses. You can use flat joints, you can use T-slots, which are very stable, and even choose like the tab width and stuff, screw diameters, screw lengths, yeah. And then you can get laser cutter plans and save them and load them and stuff. And I'm not sure like what exactly it gives you. You can set the kerf here as well. What kind of file is this? SVG. Okay, so that gives you an SVG, which Glowforge can't use, but most other laser cutters can. Glowforge is kind of like the Tinkercad of laser cutters. It's very beginner friendly and non-domain expert friendly, but also it's a bit limited in what you can do. So finally, someone posted into the Hackster Slack this template maker site, which is templatemaker.nl, must be in the Netherlands. And there's all kinds of different stuff you can make. Card boxes, spheres, stars, hat boxes, shelf-ready packs, little platonic solids, a coffin, a heart-shaped box, which is a Nirvana reference, little bags and stuff, all kinds of things. So this could be really useful if you want a little bit nicer of a box. Didn't work for me because I am working with full thickness corrugated cardboard, but if you were working with something like, you know, chipboard, you could make something really fancy and nice looking really easily just by using these. So cool. And finally, I have one more for you. NASA tweeted out that they have released their own wrapping paper. And so you can find this on their site. They have multiple sizes. There's an 8.5 by 11 version you can print out, or just go to FedEx or Kinko's or whatever and get it printed out on the spot. Nerdy wrapping paper, super great, especially if you're giving someone something space themed. They have a version with a small logo and with a larger logo, up to 36 by 30 size, and they have them in red and blue. Super great. So cute. So I might use that at some point. It does seem like a lot of color printing, but yeah. Feel free to grab my laser wrapping paper. I will put the card up there as well so that you can easily make that. You know, if you wanted to turn it into a card itself, all you'd have to do is like etch that on one side of a piece of, like, you know, you have a rectangle of paper, you etch it down here, and then you fold it in half. Couldn't be simpler. You want to make a different size of card. Here's your paper, etch it down here, vector around in a smaller shape, and there you go. Super easy. Hope this helps you out in your last minute gifting. Happy holidays.